Guy, isn't it funny? So you work your whole month, every day, you work so hard, and then at the end of the month, your hard-earned money, when you get it, you just simply go to the bank and give it to them. It doesn't make any kind of sense, does it? It's your money. Be careful. Invest. Okay, what do you need to know about the services of the banks? So the banks are lending money. They are giving loans. How do they do that? Let's say you go to the bank and you deposit $1,000. Let's say you get your paycheck and you don't withdraw that money like a cash in your hands. You just simply leave it on your bank account. Let's say you have $1,000. Basically, it's not your money. It resides with the bank and it's bank's money. Banks have a kind of reserve that if in case you go to the bank and ask for your money, they have to pay you out. They have to give you that kind of money. But if you're not using that kind of money, you're just sitting on, let's say, on a savings account or something like that, then banks are practically using it as their own money. And they are using that money to give loans to other people. And if you put to your savings account, let's say $1,000, the banks will take $900, they will give it out as a loan, and they will keep only a fraction of this money as a reserve in the bank. Let's say $100. That's why it is called fractional reserve banking. So they will only reserve and put aside a fraction of your deposit, and another, this leftover, this 900, it will go out. They will lend it out. And what happens, you can imagine if I take $900 and give it to you, let's say, what will you do with this $900? You will go and buy, let's say, I don't know, a small car, a very ugly and slow and old car. And you will give it to the car dealership somewhere. And what will happen? The car dealership will put this money where? Into the bank. Maybe not in the same bank, maybe in another bank. And what happens? That other bank will now get $900 in their deposits. They will, 10% of that they'll put aside as a reserve, let's say $90. And another $810, they will lend it out once more. So you can see how you can do it in a cascade, this 10,000 or this $1,000 from the beginning, you can lend it out multiple times. And there is only a fraction of the money as a reserve in case something happens and some people want to come and get their money out. So what is the problem here? The problem here is, imagine this. You come and you want your money back. You put a deposit, $1,000, but you want back your $1,000 back. But the bank doesn't have it. They only have $100. Other $900 are somewhere else. Someone else has it. And it's not a problem if there are many of us who have put our money into the bank. The bank will collect these hundreds from each person and give you your $1,000. But if all of us that have money in the banks come the same day on the bank's door and knock on the door and say, okay, give us our money back, the bank will simply say, oh, but we don't have your money. We can only give you 10% or something like that. That's what is called a bank run. So if all of us come to the bank and say, give us our money back, the bank doesn't have this money. You understand this? So be careful when you are saving, when you are putting your money into the banks. There is always a risk, a possibility of bank run, so that you go to the bank, you ask for your money, and they simply cannot give it to you. There is also a certain percentage of the money that is secured by the government, let's say $100,000 or something like that, or 200,000 euros, that is, let's say, guaranteed you can get out. So if you have, let's say, $1 million deposited in your bank account, you can always withdraw, and it's, let's say, reserved, it's secured. You can always get out 200,000 euros. But what about the 800,000 euros, the left? So that's the risk that's not secured. Maybe you will get it. Maybe if the bank will, I don't know, get even better, will do more business in the future and it will be prosperous, maybe in some times you will get back your 800,000 euros. But in case the banks will not do good, the business will not be good, and they will have to go, they will go, let's say, bust, then in that case, maybe if they sell some of the assets of the banks or something like that, you will get some part of this 800,000, or in the worst case scenario, you will not get anything. So you have to realize that when you are using banks. It's better if you have that kind of money, that kind of amount, that you diversify and you distribute that money into multiple bank accounts in multiple banks. So it's just a suggestion. So you have now heard what is fractional reserve banking, how banks are giving those loans. Also, they are getting their profits from fees. And there are different kinds of fees like ATM withdrawals, account maintenance. Probably you have each month you have to pay some kind of maintenance for your account, for the transactions, for the credit card that you're using. So each credit card that you use, there is a transaction fee, but also there is an interest to be paid if you don't repay your credit card debt on time. So also there are fees. There's some kind of investment, because not only that banks are using your money to give it as a loan to someone else, they can use your money to invest as a bank. So what happens? The bank gets your money and then they put it somewhere in some kind of a stock or stock market, and maybe they will earn 10% of interest per year, and they will only give you in your savings account, let's say 3%. So they are in plus 7% per year. And it's a good business. Don't get me wrong. It's a good business. It's nothing special if you have one customer, but if you have tens of thousands of customers, then this 7% per each customer that deposit their money in the bank, it adds up at the end of the day. So as I said, are the banks your friends? Not really. Banks are businesses. You can leverage them to your benefit, and your benefit should be that you invest the money that you get from the banks, not to spend it on crap. Okay. Also, those credit cards, I would suggest, if you can pay with credit cards and you are able to repay all the debt, let's say at the end of the month, I would strongly suggest that you go and buy things with credit cards. Why? Because when you are paying with credit cards, you're not paying with your own money. You're paying with the bank's money. And it's always good to pay something with someone else's money. And if something gets, I don't know, stolen, or some information got stolen about the card, the credit card, basically you don't care, because it's bank's money. It's not your money. that's at risk. So if you have the possibility to use debit card or credit card, maybe it's better to use a credit card and repay all the debt at the end of the month with your money that's on your bank account, because in that case you will not have any kind of interest. You will not have to pay 10% or 20% of interest on the debt that you have on the credit card. So you have learned that banks do not keep all the money they receive in the vaults. So they are not, if you put money in the banks, they are not putting it all in the vaults. They keep only a small fraction of deposits, as they are calling it cash reserves. The money that you deposit in the bank, let's say you have a physical, have a money, printed money, then you go to the ATM and you deposit your money there. This money, it's not stored in the bank vaults, it doesn't, something like that. It is converted into a number that will be added to your bank account, and the money, they'll see what they will do with the physical cash, but this digital entry to your account, it's what matters. And as I said, once it goes to the bank's account, basically it is with the bank. So understand, it's like you put some money into some company. You have gave them your money. It's their money now. Of course, you can always want you always can ask them to pay you back. It doesn't mean that they always, at any time of the day or the night, they have the ability to pay you back. That's why you have to keep track and know these things. Maybe it's better, if you have some excessive cash, not to just sit around on your bank account. Pull it out and buy yourself assets. Assets that produce something that will increase in value over time. It's much smarter than simply this money to be sitting in a bank account. So I have said everything about the debt, how it's destroyed, and what is the bank run, how the panic starts if you hear something on the news that banks are not doing business wise very good, and there is always a risk they can go bust, then in most of the cases people are going to the bank and all at the same time asking for their money, and in that case the banks can only give them the amount that is reserved, that is secured by the government, by the law. And for other parts that is about that threshold, then it's per case. It depends on how this issue with the bank will resolve in the future. So what is, let's say, how we can criticize this fractional reserve banking? One thing, it creates debt. So I said it creates money from thin air. It increases the amount of money supply in the system, and if you don't repay it back, it becomes a problem in a sense of inflation. And you have this problem of bank runs when you cannot withdraw your money whenever you want. Also, I said in the previous episode that you should have at least 3 to 6 months of your normal standard monthly expenses on your, let's say, bank account as cash. Why as cash? Because cash is highly liquid. What means liquid? It means that you can pay your responsibilities, your bills, the things that you have to pay, and you can pay it right away, because you can get immediately to the bank, you can get immediately that money, and you can pay the things that you need to pay, let's say, immediately. With crypto, you can do it even faster, because banks are not working over the weekends and so on, so you cannot transact whenever you want like crypto. But let's just put this aside. Money is highly liquid. You can pay your dues, like they say, almost instantly. But if you withdraw the money from your account and put it somewhere in some kind of assets, like let's say in an apartment, then the liquidity goes down. What does it mean? It means that if you have to pay some kind of bill, you need to get your hands with cash, you cannot get it immediately because you have to sell the apartment, and it's not so up to you whether you will sell it this day or tomorrow or in 1 week or in 1 month. You want to sell it immediately, but it doesn't mean you will sell it immediately. It depends on the market, how many customers you will have, and so on and so forth. Maybe at the end of the day, you will get even less money than you need. And that's one of the problems also, and the traps that people fall into is that they need cash immediately. They cannot get it from let's say, their apartments, from the real estate, and they often sell the real estate below the market price because they need it now. They have put the money to invest, to grow over time, and at the end of the day, they will sell it with a minus. They will sell it with a loss. But you have to know. That's why you have to have some kind of liquid cash, let's say, somewhere on bank account or something like this, just to pay your normal standard expenses or to pay something that you have to pay immediately, to be highly liquid. And then you have, for the rest of the money that you have, I wouldn't put it on a bank account personally. I would put it somewhere in your assets. Let's say some in gold. Gold is also highly liquid. You can sell your gold investment bars almost instantly every day. You can put it in crypto. Crypto is also highly liquid for now, at least. You can sell your Bitcoin whenever you want. But real estate and so on, it's also liquid, but it's not so liquid as money or gold or something like that. So what are the problems with the current banks? The problem is that they are dependent on these fractional reserves. They create this debt. There is a risk of inflation because they are creating this kind of debt. The bank can fail, business can go bust. As I said, banks can prioritize the loans. They will give these loans to businesses and wealthy people over, let's say, middle class or lower class, and just producing even more discrepancy between the high class and the lower class. They can introduce high fees. They can limit you access. So it is centralized. Maybe it's not transparent enough because you don't see the transactions between all of the accounts. You as a normal person, you cannot see all the transactions between all the accounts in the banks. And they can impose some kind of restrictions on you and on your businesses whenever they want. You can sue them. Maybe you are right. Maybe they don't have this possibility to, let's say, freeze your accounts, but nevertheless, they can do it. They can do it in any part of the day, in every part of the week, and basically they can fuck you up. So you cannot pay your dues, you cannot get grasp of your money, you cannot do anything because they decided. They are highly regulated, they are centralized, and they can do whatever they want. So they can block your credit card. So you are on your business trip, you are on your vacation, you want to pay, and your credit card got rejected. What will it do? Nothing. You can call your bank, and bank can say, okay, but we have blocked your card, we don't know what's going on, we have to see for 2-3 days. Maybe it will go away, maybe we can do something about it, but you are, I don't know, thousands kilometers and miles away from your home. You need that credit card. You need to pay for your hotels, for your taxis, for, I don't know, for food. That's why having credit cards, having banks and so on, it comes with a risk. It's not so often, but they can do with the accounts as they like, at least for the first part, where you understand that there is something blocked. And when you get into the conversation with the bank, maybe they will unblock it in the future, maybe not, maybe you have to sue them, it doesn't matter, but it can happen. And you can get fucked somewhere tens of thousands of kilometers away from your home. So you should always keep some cash with yourself or something that is highly liquid that you can transact with other people wherever you are. That's why the wealthy people, when they are moving around the world, when they are traveling, you can often find them traveling with some nice watches like Rolexes, I don't know, Patek Philippe or something like that. Why? Because you never know what will happen there, what can happen there. Maybe they will need some kind of medical assistance and they will need to pay a medical bill, and they will not be able to get the money from their bank accounts for any kind of reasons. So that's why they will have some asset that they can exchange and they can get money easily wherever they are. So that's one also tip. So I said your funds can be frozen, they can block your credit cards, they can refuse your transactions and so on. And crypto, when we are talking about the crypto, it's something that solves many of the problems from the banks. So why? Because in crypto there is no centralized control. You own your own cryptocurrency opposed to the money that is on the bank account. You don't own them, the bank owns them. You can get that money from the bank, but you are not in custody of that assets, let's say. You can send crypto to anyone, anywhere, any time of the day or the night. So they cannot ban you, they cannot frozen your account. So there is no centralized control in that way. It's anonymous, so you can be anonymous, but all of the transactions on the network are visible. So everything is transparent. You see all the addresses or the accounts, and you see all the transactions between the accounts on this blockchain. You maybe don't know who is the owner of each of the accounts, but you see all of the transactions. So everything is transparent. You don't see that simply when you go to the bank. You cannot say, okay, give me all the transactions of all of your accounts that you have. They will not give it to you. So it's highly transparent, it's globally accessible, and it has maybe even lower transactional costs than banks have. So guys, now you know that you don't own your money in the bank. You can get it, but you don't own it per se. Banks can create money out of thin air in the form of a debt. That's why it's not taxable, and the rich people are using that debt to their advantage to buy even more assets to get even more richer, while you're buying crap and stupid shit with that kind of money. Always my suggestions and my advice for me, for you, is to live within your means. If you don't have the money, then don't borrow money to buy something just for the sake that you have it, because everyone has it, because it's normal. It's the way of life you have when you are, let's say, 25 years old. You must find a job, you must marry, you must have a wife, and you have to buy a car, you have to buy a house, and it's all you have to. You don't have to. You don't have to. You have to live somewhere, you have to eat, of course, that's all, but that's all okay. But you don't have to do what everyone else is doing. Maybe people who are in debt, who have get their loans when they were 25 years old, maybe they are struggling with those debt. Maybe they cannot repay that debt. And in that case, you are going into this, let's say, debt crisis. When you are refinancing your debt, you are going every 5 years to get a new loan to repay back the old one and to prolong the time span that you will have to pay to the bank. A bank loves that. Bank wants to be, let's say, in power, that you be in this kind of a debt slavery for as long as possible. So you should repay your debt as soon as possible if you are using it for some kind of crap. But if you're using it for some kind of a business, for investments, to gain more money, then you should refinance it and get even more and more money and become even more wealthier. That's why the banks are here. Okay, guys, I believe that's it. You have heard something about the banks, how they operate. They are not our friends. What are the risks that are related to the banks and the bank business, what you have to be aware of. Are your funds safe or not, and in what percentage, to what extent they are secured, and what can happen to the banks. So you always have to evaluate the risk, like the banks are evaluating you when you come to borrow money. You should always evaluate the banks also. So guys, if you like this kind of content, share, like, subscribe, as I said at the beginning of this podcast, and I will see you soon. Bye. And guys, if you want to learn more about certain topics that we are covering in this podcast, like how to do affiliate marketing, how to do trading, crypto, forex, finance, general finance, and you want to learn more about how to escape the ordinary, how to escape this matrix pit and know the information that I am personally learning, then you have a possibility to enroll and to find out more in this game changer application. So the application is also available through the link that is available on my personal page. So you have a link here in the descriptions that you can go and check by yourself.